Welcome to another crochet tutorial with Cosy Rosy UK. Today I'm going to be showing you how you can make your very own sunglasses case using the ripple stitch. Now this sunglasses case creates a lovely textured squishy sunglasses case that's going to allow us to relax when it comes to popping our sunglasses away when we go in for those meals or whatever else we get up to on our holidays. Now before we get started, don't forget to hit that notification bell and of course click on the subscribe button so that you never miss out on another one of our crochet tutorials again. Let's run through the materials we're going to need to be able to crochet our very own sunglasses case. Now we're going to be working holding 2 strands of DK weight yarn together, and I'm going to be using Stylecraft Naturals bamboo and cotton. So this is a cotton blend and it's 60% bamboo and 40% cotton. It comes in lovely large sized balls of 100 grams, but we only need a total of, yardage wise, we're going to need 140 meters, which is about 160 yards of cotton altogether. I would recommend again that we use either a cotton or a cotton blend. It's a bit gentler if it's a blend of cotton as well. The acrylic would be good if it's going to be around water because it will repel the water from getting into the sunglasses case. There's nothing wrong with our glasses getting wet. Now we're going to be using the 2 strands of DK weight or size 3 yarn with a 4mm crochet hook. You're also going to need a darning needle and a sewing needle that will allow you to sew on a button. Now I'm using one that fits through the button and also allows me to thread through some of the corresponding cotton that I've used in my pattern, but you can just use a colour corresponding thread if you want to sew your button on so that we can keep a bit of a close as well. So gather all your materials and let's get started. So we're going to be holding these 2 colours together. So the shades that I have here is, I can't remember which one's which. I'm going to assume that this is Cornflower and this is Aqua, and that's in the Stylecraft Naturals. And we're just going to start by holding both yarns at the same time and creating a slip knot in the usual way, however you like to do that. And then just pop it onto your hook, making sure you've got both strands on your hook. You're going to hold it in the same way you would absolutely normally. You don't have to hold it in any special way because we're going to use the 2 strands throughout the pattern. There's no real colour changes, but by holding the 2 yarns together, it gives it almost I think it literally looks like a pool. That's why I've given it the name the Pool Ripple Stitch sunglasses case. So we're going to start by chaining a total of 31. So this one on our hook doesn't count. So we do a chain of 31. So 1, 2, 3, and 31. Now we need to make sure that we're catching both the colours as we're doing our chain. So if you do have a look down and see that there are some that look thinner than others, it's possible that you've not caught both the strands if you've done your chain. So going into row 1, we're going to, these all US terms throughout this pattern. I'll try and give the UK terms as I go through. So we're going to start by working a double crochet into the 4th chain from hook. So this one doesn't count, that's our first chain. So 1, 2, 3 and 4. So just yarn over and we're just going to insert our hook under the top loop of our chain because we're going to work on our chain the other way when we're joining up at the bottom. So we yarn over, bring up our loop, yarn over and pull through 2, yarn over and pull through 2. So we're going to work 1 double crochet into each chain across so that at the end of this row, the end of row 1, we will have a total stitch count of 29 because the first chains that we missed also count as a stitch. So keep working all the way across, working 1 double crochet into each chain. And I will meet you at the end of this row going on to row 2. This is number 29, so this is my last double crochet or UK treble crochet. So you can see that by holding the two colours together, you almost get every stitch is a little bit different, and I really like that effect as well. You can of course work this in one colour. So at the end of row 1, you should have a stitch count, including that chain 3 at the beginning, of 29. So for row 2, we're going to chain 1 and turn, and we're going to, the chain 1 does not count as a stitch, and we're going to work into the same stitch as the chain 1, working 1 single crochet, and then we're going to work 1 single crochet into each stitch across, which will of course give us a total of 29 stitches still. So continue to work all the way across, working 1 single crochet into the top of each stitch, and I will meet you at the end of row 2, ready for our next row. For row 3, we're going to start by making a chain of 3, 1, 2 and 3. Going to turn our work. So this chain 3 counts as a double crochet, so we don't need to work into that first stitch here. We're going to skip the next stitch and work around the post directly underneath it. So we're going to work a front ripple treble. So we yarn over the hook twice. We've worked that one, so ignore that post. We're going to work around this post here. So I'm going to insert the hook underneath through the front, and then we're going to yarn over and bring a loop up. Be careful not to catch anything, and we should have 4 loops on our hook. So 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm going to yarn over, pull through those first 2 loops, pull through the first 2 loops again, and yarn over, pull through the last 2 loops, and that creates that ripple stitch there. If we hold it straight, it works over, or it sits over that stitch that we've missed. So we know that the next stitch we need to work into is that one. So we're going to work that ripple stitch, and then we're going to work a double crochet. So again, if you're unsure, just hold it straight, and you can see that that one's over that one. So this next stitch here, we're going to skip the stitch and work around the post. So we yarn over twice. We've worked above that one, so we're going around this one. So we insert the hook from the front and back out the front. Yarn over, bring your loop up. You've got your 4 loops on your hook. Yarn over, pull through 2, 3 loops left. Yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. So we've worked over this one here. So this is our next stitch, and we're just going to work a double crochet, a US double crochet into the next stitch. And we're going to repeat that the whole way across this row. So we've done our double crochet above that stitch. So this is the post we need to work around. So we yarn over the hook twice, insert our hook through the front, yarn over, bring a loop up. Should have 4 loops on our hook, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over and pull through 2. You can see that if you hold it straight, there's our next stitch to work into, and we need to work 1 double crochet into that stitch there. And we're going to, as I said, we're going to repeat this the whole way across this row. What we'll end up with is alternating ripple stitches with double crochets, which means the next stitch, you can see that we've got this stitch is over this post, over this stitch here. So this is the post we need to work around. So we yarn over twice, insert the hook through the front, yarn over, bring that loop up, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over and pull through 2. We've worked over that stitch, so this is the next one to work our double crochet into. If you ever get stuck, put the work as straight as you can and you'll see where you need to work next. So you can see you've got a stitch directly over that one, so this is the next post. So we yarn over twice, got one there, so this is the next one to work over, or work around as the case may be. And if you get it wrong, don't worry, it's easy to pull back out again. So we've worked, you see how that kind of sits in front of that stitch there. So this is the next one we need to work into with our double crochet. So continue to work that the whole way across. You should have one ripple, one double, all the way across. And just kind of take the time to look to see where the next post is to work around. And then there's the stitch. Again, if you're not sure, just take a moment just to have a look. Ripple, double, ripple, double, ripple, double. So we're going to work over that stitch. So if you were to look at it from the back, you can see where the skip stitches are as well. So keep working all the way across, and I will meet you back at the end of, I think we're still on row 3, aren't we? So we're going to work those the front ripple, check I'm doing that in the right place, the front ripple trebles, and followed by a double treble. So at the end of this row you should finish on working a double crochet into the last stitch here. You can see where that chain is. So in here we should be working a double crochet, should I say. So keep working across and I'll meet you at the end of row 3. So at the end of row 3, we should have 14 front raised treble crochets. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 and 14. And we should end on a double crochet. So altogether, if you were to count your stitches, you would still have 29. So going into row 4, we're going to repeat row 2, nice and easy. We like these ones nice and quick. We're going to chain 1 and work 1 single crochet into each stitch across, and that will put our stitches, or so that the right side is facing us. So at the moment you can't see the ripples, so that is the wrong side of the pattern, and the right side is where we can see those ripples. So for row 4, working 1 single crochet into each stitch across. So we should still have a stitch count at the end of row 4 of 29. Don't forget that on the end of row 4, we need to work into that turning chain that we made at the beginning of row 3. So we need to work 1 single crochet into, I've split the yarn, into that chain 3 as well. Try that again, there we go. To maintain that stitch count of 29. So at the moment this is the wrong side of our work facing us. When we turn, we're going to come back and see those ripples. So going into row 5, we're going to chain 3. Doesn't matter if you chain before or after you turn, don't worry. Remembering that this counts as a stitch, so we don't work into the stitch underneath our chain. We're going to work a double crochet into the next stitch. So above our ripple, this way we're going to work a double crochet, and then where there isn't a ripple stitch here, we're going to work our front ripple treble around this stitch this time. So we go in through the front, bring that loop up, pull through 2, pull through 2 and pull through 2. Above the ripple, this time we're going to work our double crochet, and then around that next stitch in between the 2 ripples, we work the ripple stitch. You see there's the skip stitch where our treble sits over, and there's the stitch to place our double crochet. So from the back you can see we've got a double crochet, a treble with a skip stitch, a double crochet, front ripple treble, and then a double crochet. And just as we did for row 3, we're going to repeat this the whole way across. So there's a couple of ways you can kind of read your crochet fabric. Each time you've got a ripple stitch from the previous row, we're going to place a double crochet. Each time there isn't a ripple stitch, that's where we place our ripple. So here we have no ripple, so we're going to yarn over twice and work a ripple stitch over that. And then we have a ripple, so we're going to work a double crochet into the next stitch. So keep working across, and I'll see you in a moment. So I have reached my last stitch. I've done my half double crochet, and on this one we need to keep the edges as neat as possible. So rather, we need to go, instead of around the post, we're going through that space there. So we insert our hook, yarn over and around, back through, just the same way as we did before, just making sure that we put our hook into the right place. And it just makes that edge a little bit neater. So now that we've completed that row, you can see that the ripples are alternating. And my goodness, look at that texture. So after row 5, row 6 is another nice easy one. We should still have our 14 raised ripples. And then for row 6 to 21, we are going to repeat these rows. So remembering, going back to row 2, we chain 1 and work 1 single crochet into each stitch across. And then row 3 was the first row of those ripples. So we chained 3 and then rippled. Ultimately, we're going to repeat the first, so rows 2 to 5 for a total of 4 times. And that will give us a total row count of 21. And then for row 22, we then work 1 more row of single crochets. If you'd like to see the written pattern, so you can do those stitch repeats nice and easily, you'll find the link to the blog post where you'll find the free written pattern visible there for you. You can also purchase the printable PDF, which has a stitch tutorial in it as well. If you prefer to follow along with that, you can purchase that via the blog post too. So we're going to repeat that for a total of 4 times. So it will end up quite long. It should measure 7 inches by that point. And we're going to end with a row of single crochets that you'll see here. So keep working, so you've got a total of 21 rows. So that's repeating rows 2 to 5 4 more times, and that will take you to 7 inches long. It is quite stretchy, so don't worry. And then we're going to work, I'm going to meet you for row 22, and then we're going to join up our glasses case, finish off the button close, and get our project finished. So I'll see you in a little while when you've completed your next 21 rows. So once you've completed your last row of single crochets, so you've done your 21 rows, row 22 is just a row of single crochets. I've just done mine, just checking I've done singles here, ending obviously in that last chain 3, working that last row. And what we're going to do now is quite literally fold the fabric in half. So you've got your hook on the rear and just bring that side up, because the next part of this nice pattern is just simply to seam all the way down and across which will leave this edge open. Because we've got those lovely single crochets in that top row, it gives us a lovely edge to our project straight away. So from here, at the end of row 22, we simply chain 1, and that just gives us some leeway to insert our hook when we've folded it up, so you've got your raised ripples kind of facing vertical to work out which one was which. And we're going to insert our hook into this first stitch here. We've got the wrong side facing each other and the right side out, and we're just going to insert our hook into the underneath there as well. And then we just slip stitch through both sides and through the loop on our hook. Give it a bit of a wiggle to tighten it up, and that's the join at the top of our sunglasses case. What we're going to do now is crochet evenly all the way down to this corner join here. And what that means is that we're going to place 1 single crochet into the end of each row and into the space between the rows as well. So you can see you've got, this one's the nice and easy one. You're going to go through that loop. You've got a little hole there. You can't see the light coming through. There we go. So you can put the hook through there, and then you should have the same on the other side or similar. And then we just, to make sure you've got both sides on, going to pull through both sides and then do a single crochet. And we're going to work that the whole way down. So I'd recommend trying to work through these spaces, because otherwise you're going to be left with a hole. So if you've got a chain or something along the edge, just kind of push your hook through something. She says, it's hard to do it through the camera, sorry. There we go. And you want to get at least 2 loops from each side onto your hook. And then we work our single crochet. Just give it your hook a wiggle if you need to bring it through all those loops. She says, oh, I'm catching on something there, aren't I? There we go. And then complete your single crochet and just repeat that the whole way down, making sure that you're working. Oh, there's the doorbell. Sorry about that. Goodness me. So through both sides of your glasses case. Dogs have to bark at the doorbell, don't they? And then just continue to single crochet, oops, all the way down, and it will just create this lovely edging here. And we're going to literally do that. So we're going to have to do probably, with our 22 rows, it should be a stitch count down the side of about, in theory, 44, but you might need a few less, you might need a few more if you want to fill in some of these holes as well. And we just work all the way down. It's always worth checking that your edges are meeting up so that when you get to this corner, you're going to be nice and even. So keep working all the way down, and I'll meet you in this corner where we're going to weave these ends in that we started with, and we're going to work our corner space and then the final bit along the bottom. So keep working all the way down the side so that you're joining these together, and I'll meet you at the corner. When we reach this corner stitch, we're going to go in underneath that tail and then into the corresponding back end of the chain effectively. We're going to do 1 single crochet, chain 1, and then another single crochet through the same stitches again. And that gives us just a little bit less of a rounded corner, if that makes sense. So it makes it a bit neater. And then you can see that on this side, we're working through the chain that we started the pattern with. So there should be a corresponding, oh, I didn't make that very clear, sorry. You've got underneath each stitch, you've got this little X almost that you're going to work your hook through on both sides. And I'm going to hold my tail yarn against my project so that I can work over it and weave it in effectively at the same time. So we're going to work through both sides, matching up the edge. You can see you've worked into that one, so then into that one, working over that tail at the same time. You don't have to, but it just means you don't have to weave it in at the end. You know me, I'm all about time saving when it comes to these pesky ends. And you just do that the whole way across. And just kind of keep working through, matching up those stitches up to the last one. And I'm going to work one just into that edge of the stitch there to give it a square end. And then that completes the edging and leaves our join there. So we can grab our scissors once you've completed that last stitch. Leave a tail long enough so you can weave your ends in. I'm going to do a little chain one. I like to create a little knot, just like that. Before I do anything, I know I'm just going to check these ends here, make sure they're nice and secure. No weaving. Wonderful. I'm going to weave these ends in a moment, but before we do that, we're going to add on our button loop. I've crocheted a bit tighter on this one. And the way that we're going to do that, so this is my right side of my project. I can see I've got my nice side of my chain facing me. On the other side, you've got the wrong side, in my opinion. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of guesstimate the middle of my project. I'm going to insert my hook into one of the stitches. That looks pretty central to me. Might go one back actually. Doesn't have to be, you can count them if you want to, I'm not that exacting. And again, I'm going to grab, move those out of the way, grab those two loops, the two strands again to work this kind of button loop, and just bring that through after placing it onto your hook. And we're simply going to chain 14. So that's 1, 2, if you're wondering, I'm holding that tail there at the bottom, 2, 3, 4, 5. If you only have a small button, you might want to stop at 10. That's 14. And you can either place your slip stitch back into the same stitch that you started with, or you can go along one stitch. I'm going to work over that as well. And just slip stitch, through. Again, I'm going to do a little chain one because we're going to fasten this off. And make sure we've got a nice long end. Bring that loop through and pull tight. And that creates our little button loop. So all that's left to do is to weave our ends in and sew our button on, which I have done here with this one already. So I can do a Blue Peter moment. And you can see that it's all nice and neat. Now I have used the same thread because luckily, I don't know if it'll go back through the thread through my needle, the eye of my needle went through and I could thread my cotton on, of course. But there's nothing wrong with just using a normal thread. So I really hope that you've enjoyed this crochet tutorial on how to crochet your very own sunglasses case. It's a great way of using up some of that scrap yarn and actually make something practical that you can take on holiday and show off to absolutely everybody. And they are nice and snug in our glasses case. There's a little bit of wiggle room in there as well, but they're not coming out, are they? So if you've enjoyed this video, don't forget, of course, to give it a thumbs up and hit the subscribe button and notification bell so that you never miss out on another one of my crochet tutorials again. Thank you so much for joining me. It's been an absolute pleasure.